Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. I'm going to address this now. I apparently have a bad cold. Not sure if it's a cold, but it's really bad. Lots of blowing my nose. It's going to be brought up. It's going to possibly. I'm hope not. But if I get into a sneezing fit, I'm not going to stop. Just keep that in mind. That's why I'm addressing this now. Because boy, we have a big video today. And that is the news because Donald Trump has put Kash Patel in the said hands of FBI, as you know, FBI director. And it's very interesting to see how the reactions are going. And as we knew, this would happen because Kash Patel is going to dismantle the deep state. John F. Kennedy Jr. No, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to dismantle the deep state. And as along with Tulsi Gabbard is going to dismantle the deep state. Elon Musk is going to dismantle the deep state. All of these neocons and libturds that work for the deep state, they're freaking out. And what's funny is they were against the deep state. They were the ones that brought up the deep state. When we heard the word first time deep state, it was when Bush was in power and we invaded a country for no reason. And we called Bush and the White House and the government the deep state. And these are modern day, and now they're Trump supporters. The Democrats were the ones that created the term. And now we have Democrat-led networks like PBS calling it a conspiracy theory. It's going to be great because we're going to go through 12 minutes of absolute joy and absolute bitterness from the left on this pick. First off, I want to mention the hypocrisy here. I think mentioning the hypocrisy in this said when it comes to Trump's cabinet is absolutely a demand here. They go on the right. They go and bash Republicans for not putting more people of color in. But when we put the second Indian guy in Trump's cabinet, they boo-hoo, whine, and cry. No, it's not about race, guys. And Republicans for it. It's not about race. The Democrats don't care it's about race. They're just using race as a talking point. But when we fulfill and say, hey, look, we proved you wrong, they still boo-hoo, whine, and cry. They don't like Kash Patel because he's a committed man and a committed American attorney that say, hey, the FBI bashing into people's homes with zero evidence and just over conspiracy theories is wrong. And what he's saying is we need to take it apart and rebuild it. And the left is going to act like he's just going to tear it apart and just leave it like that. It's just astounding because if we were back in 2008, back in 2004, 2005, whatever, the Democrats would support this 100%. They were the ones that hammered the FBI the most. And, of course, the most liberal, classical liberals, they're against the FBI. But now that the left is in power, won't be anymore, but here's the deal. The left is still in power because of the American media. It's taken over by the left, when the American media has become the deep state, as well as, of course, the Department of Justice, which will be ousted in a matter of weeks. But then again, still deep state. And today we'll be reacting to the latest headlines to, of course, Donald Trump's pick, which is actually a really, really good pick. I don't care what anyone tells you. It's a great pick. And you got to remember, Donald Trump, beloved by many, but hated by almost, not almost everyone, but hated by almost half the country. And they're just going to hate on him no matter what he does. So don't buy into this Kash Patel stuff. I think, of course, he is a perfect pick for leading, of course, the charge to purge the corruption in the federal bureau investigation, of course, the FBI, when it comes to that. So without a further moment ado, let's go ahead. So, New York Times is saying Republicans express support Trump's pick for FBI, Kash Patel. And I mean, that's a pretty based article. I mean, it's true. Republicans are expressing, but you have neocons like John Bolton condemning it. You'll see what CBS is saying. Trump's decision to tap Kash Patel for FBI director sends shockwaves. Oh no! shockwaves through Washington. Yeah, of course, they better be shocked. They better be scared because they're getting out. They're getting their butts kicked out, and they are going to run all the way home where they came from. Of course, they're freaking out right now, and it's the folks in Washington and their allies and friends in the media that are going to condemn it. They're trying to save their Washington friends. John Bolton, a Republican, compares Kash Patel to Stalin's right-hand man after Trump's FBI. That's so inaccurate, because what did Joseph Stalin do? Joseph Stalin was a warmonger. He invaded so many countries just like Hitler. He invaded Finland. He famously invaded Poland on the behalf of Hitler. He invaded Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. He invaded Romania. He also, of course, he threatened so many wars. It's not official, but it said that he possibly would have, of course, invaded Germany, Nazi Germany. The two didn't trust each other, despite that non-aggression pact signed in order to partition Poland. That isn't a guarantee. But then, yeah, Stalin, big warmonger. And just like our friend Johnny Bolton. But Bolton is comparing Kash Patel to Stalin's ethnic purges before World War II. And I think that's so inaccurate, because John Bolton, a Republican, who says he disapproves of the Biden administration, okay, he barely speaks out on the current state of the FBI because there's nothing to speak out against it, because the FBI is deep state, right? It is deep state, and it's run by deep state officials, like said John Bolton. And Bolton's doing this on purpose. He's trying to get Americans to think a different way about this whole thing, but it's not true. There's so many comparisons to the authoritarian Stalin regime and the neocons. They may be opposite of the political spectrum, but that's beyond the point. You also get articles like PBS. Trump taps deep state, quote, quote, conspiracy theorist Kash Patel to lead the FBI. Okay? The fact that they're saying conspiracy theorist is not true, because PBS was writing articles on the behalf of Democrats back in 2006, although it was more, of course, a less partisan. But PBS had some beef to give to the Bush administration, and rightfully so. We don't approve in this channel the Iraq War. We think it was a huge mistake. And if we approve the Iraq War, we're basically applauding neocons. Just because Republicans are in the office doesn't mean they're prone to making bad mistakes. So, yeah, it's hypocritical. PBS did a 180 condemning Bush administration, saying, okay, Washington's doing this wrong, to now say, hey, the deep state actually doesn't exist. Never mind. It only existed when Republicans were around. And I guarantee you, once Republicans get into power, they'll start talking about the deep state. They will start, I will bet money on it, they will start whining and crying and accusing Republicans of being deep state. That's how it works. Washington Post, opinion. Of course, I have to state it's an opinion. A dangerous and unqualified choice for the FBI. Yeah, it's dangerous and unqualified. It's just dangerous for the deep state, right? Because Kash Patel is going to dismantle the deep state when it comes to the FBI. The Hill says, Lawler says he has no reservations about Kash Patel for FBI chief. And I'll give it to the Hill. They're very moderate. But what isn't moderate is the Rolling Stone. And we'll talk about Senator Hagerty a little bit. GOP Senator Hagerty on Kash Patel, FBI. I look forward to him taking it apart, and I agree. Rolling Stone thinks that's a bad thing, but I think most Americans want it to be taken apart, not permanently, but rebuilt. Rolling Stone obviously thinks that's a bad thing. Well, they're a sliver minority of Americans that run the Rolling Stone. They're the only ones that think that, and that's perfectly fine by me. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some footage I collected in regards to the reactions to uh, what's his name? Patel, Mr. Patel, and Kash Patel, and we'll go ahead. First, this is a positive interaction from a bar from Fox News. Most Americans obviously like Kash Patel. They can make the argument that this footage was taken from Florida. Probably, possibly, I don't know. You could make an argument that it's from a suburban conservative area. And I think that's the case also, but it shows that the conservatives, very little conservatives, and the areas that Trump won and the people that live and where Trump, the areas that he carried, they really can care less. They're celebrating. And here is obviously the footage.
We begin tonight with a Fox News alert. President-elect Donald Trump.
They're so happy. You can't even hear the audio. And then we go from, of course, the Fox News, the celebrations to now the deep state on behalf of MSNBC, sulking and angry, and this guy's gonna go off on how Kash Patel is unqualified because he's pro-Trump. That's really what it is. He supports a guy that he doesn't like, therefore he's unqualified. I know this because Pete Buttigieg, mayor of a city, he was put as transportation secretary. That's how unqualified it gets. And so many other people were put into power by the Biden administration because of the color of their skin, by their sexual identity, and their, of course, gender. That's how it goes. And because Trump isn't doing that, he's not picking Kash Patel because he's Indian, like this guy's going to sulk about. No. And even if he did, this guy would still be angry. No. This guy's sulking and angry because he is a good pick. If they're kicking and screaming, you know it's a good pick. But just like I said with Matt Gaetz, despite the controversy behind him, if they kick, scream, whine, and cry, the bigger the backlash, the better the pick. That's how it works. Unless it's moderates, then okay, maybe we ought to rethink this. And I think Matt Gaetz saw that, and he said, you know what, this isn't looking good for me. I'm going to drop out because it's becoming a distraction. And honestly, those are of course, the congressmen, but the cabinet picks that we need. People that don't vouch out and go on their knees and start begging, pretty please, give me a seat, give me no. Because those are the people that are more likely to backstab you because they're all in for themselves. They don't want to help you. They're in for themselves. And if you're loyal to Trump, you would sit down, shut up, and let Trump come up to you. And Kash Patel, he clearly did that. But let's see what this buffoon has to say.
FBI director would be like if you crossed Alex Jones with J. Edgar Hoover in terms of just how much he would want to ignore precedent and the constraints that have been put onto the FBI over the years. With all of the conspiracy theorizing, all of the eagerness to fan the flames of the worst instincts of President Trump put into power, those two things should never mix. Kash Patel has a vote, and he is a couple of votes away from that happening once he's put.
Okay, we're going to stop here because this tape is going to end, and we're going to go to Fox News, which obviously has a positive take on this. But what this guy's saying, basically thinking that, he's going to become a deep state secretary, even though he's morally against the deep state. And the deal is, he's not afraid of the deep state or becoming the secretary of, or the leader of the FBI becoming a deep state leader. He's not afraid of that. He's afraid of the leader of the FBI becoming a deep state leader and turning the deep state on them. Because what he's describing is what's already going on with the Biden administration. Christopher Wray, he's demanding that Mar-a-Lago be sieged, even though Joe Biden's residence wasn't even sieged. It wasn't even sieged. You cannot say Biden's residence wasn't sieged, because it wasn't. They walked right in with President Biden, and the Biden administration knowing they're going to do that. Donald Trump, all of a sudden one night, there was hundreds of police showing up. And they're raiding Mar-a-Lago, breaking into Donald Trump's personal stuff for some stupid classified documents. And you should take that seriously. Maybe he did, of course, take those documents. But then again, they just found one picture of a document being flushed down the toilet. And then they send thousands, not even thousands, a couple FBI raiders to raid his home. That should have been taken more into account because you can't do that to a former president. But if it's Donald Trump, it's fine. You can do that. Perfectly fine. No need for accommodation or anything. Just do it. Treat him like he's a private citizen, which he is, but he is the former president. That doesn't go away. And that respect doesn't go away either. And that's what a lot of these media panels, they seem to think that. Once you're out of the White House, your crown goes away, and you're treated like everyone else, which he is. He has to follow the law like everyone else. But we take more into account. Can we honestly prosecute the president, the former president, like we prosecute everyone else? Because the former president, we know people hate him. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people love him, but a lot of people hate him. And those people are the ones running the Secretary of Justice, the Department of Justice right now. Those people are the ones where he lives in Miami. Well, Miami's pretty safe. But Atlanta, New York City, even Florida, you got John Smith. Yeah. They control those urban areas. There's those urban liberal areas where Donald Trump lives. So obviously, he's already in enemy territory. And that's what a lot of Americans, of course, recognize. Let's see what Fox News has to say.
This is big news, actually. Trump has tapped Kash Patel to lead the FBI, and he calls him an advocate for truth. Some background information on Kash Patel. He served as the senior director for counterterrorism at the National Security Council. He served as the chief of staff for acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller from 2020, 2021. He also was deeply involved in writing what they call the Devin Nunes memo, which is a few pages that came out that really started to legitimize the skepticism on how the FBI was handling their probe into the Trump campaign back in 2016, and really brought a lot of that stuff to light. And it's something that I think that's one of the things that scares people that are in the establishment or in the deep state so much about him being in charge of an entity like the FBI.
Here's another reason why people are scared. Listen to what he says he'll
The deep state, not people, the deep state.
do on day one if he becomes FBI director.
Then we need to decrease what I call government creep with personnel. The FBI's footprint has gotten so freaking big, and the biggest problem the FBI has come out of its intel shops. I'd break that component out of it. I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state. And I'd take the 7,000 employees that work in that building and send them across America to chase down criminals. Go be cops. You're cops. Go be cops. Go chase down murderers and rapists and drug dealers and violent offenders. What do you need 7,000 people there for? Same thing with DOJ. What are all these people doing here? Looking for their next government promotion, looking for their next fancy government title, looking for their parachute out of government. So while you're bringing in the right people, you also have to shrink government.
So a massive government reform.
Yeah. You got to work with Congress to eliminate the billets. This is one of the things we did when I was deputy DNI. We got to DNI and I was like, okay, what do all these people do? We've got the CIA, so why do I have analysts doing the CIA's job here? Why do I have a floor of them? Like, give me a good answer. I don't know everything. I don't know a lot. But if you can give me an answer that satisfies their existence, I'm all in. Well, we just have our own people. Okay, well, now we don't. And we went to Congress and zeroed out a bunch of billets. And they hated us for it.
Why? Why would Congress hate you for that?
Not Congress, the public. Congress is like, great, you saved us money. You're the only agency that returned money this year because we didn't spend our entire budget. We were literally funding seats with no humans in them for years. And what the government creep that I was talking about is these agencies go to Congress every year. And again, this is why it's a thing of decades. I need 5 more seats here. I need 10 more seats here. Okay, you keep doing that. How's that going? Oh, we'll fill that seat next year. We're in the process of, interviewing people for that section. And that keeps No one returns money. It's the biggest fiction in government that you can't return money. Every agency and department that I've ever worked for, when it comes to the fiscal end of the year, they're like, go on trips, go spend money. What? Just give it back to Congress. We can't do that.
That's Kash Patel on the Sean Ryan show. That is, in my opinion, very refreshing to hear. That is very dangerous for others to hear, and they have responded.
The deep state, like I have to say all the time, and I know what he's trying to do. Fox is trying to save their butts, keep them clean, because they don't want to be called conspiracy theorists, but are they not already by the left? I think they are.
Like that, calling him, in fact, unqualified and dangerous. But to me, he also represents consistency. If you see the people that Donald Trump has...
I mean, it clearly says deep state right here. But I don't know what this guy's logic is. But it's fine. It's fine.
His cabinet, the common thread, from Pete Hegseth to RFK, from Tulsi Gabbard to Brendan Carr at the FCC, to Kash Patel, to Dr. Jay Bhattacharya at the NIH, is that they all represent what would have been black sheep over the last 4 years, people marginalized and called conspiracy theorists. But today what they represent is true disruptors.
Andrew,
Now we get to talk about CNN, because of course CNN, just like MSNBC, is going to throw a tantrum about it. Sure, they're not off the top as MSNBC, but when are they not off the top at all? But let's go ahead and go into this right now.
I want to start first with you and just get your reaction to this news tonight.
Yeah, well, it's a terrible development for the men and women of the FBI, and also for the nation that depends on a highly functioning, professional, independent Federal Bureau of Investigation. The fact that Kash Patel is profoundly unqualified for this job is not even like a matter for debate.
Hang on. Yeah, that's the thing. They're unqualified if they're Republicans, but if they're Democrats, when you get, of course, Kamala Harris, she is identified as the most unqualified. Yeah, she slept her way to the top, and this guy's silent because he is working on the behalf of Democrats. Everyone on this network working on the behalf of Democrats. Same deal with MSNBC, but continue.
So I think what we should really be thinking about right now is, what does this signal in terms of Donald Trump's intent for the FBI? The installation, or the nomination, I guess we should.
This is Andrew Gabe. He may be a Republican because he's the former director. Let's see. Andrew Gabe. And there's a reason why they are, of course, there's a reason why they are putting these, of course, former Republicans. Let's see. I'm not surprised if he's a Republican. Let's just be honest. Okay. It could be a chance he's from Obama. Yeah, he's a Republican. But okay. Yeah, he was under the Trump administration. He clearly was fired. This guy's a deep state guy. Deep state. And of course, he is the beneficiary of rhinoism. Yeah, he has been a contributor. After leaving the Trump administration, McCabe has been a contributor at CNN ever since. So he decided to eat cake with the Democrats after quitting. Makes sense, right? It completely makes sense.
At this point, of Kash Patel as FBI director can only possibly be a plan to disrupt, to dismantle, to distract the FBI, and to possibly use it as a tool for the president's political agenda. And, you know, as an organization, we know what that looks like. This country has been there before, right? The pre-Watergate FBI, the J. Edgar Hoover FBI, struck fear in the hearts of Americans across the spectrum of politicians, people in entertainment, people in the civil rights community.
It's kind of funny because he's trashing his own neocon side, because he's doing that on purpose, right? He's trashing Watergate, committed by Republicans, Hoovergate, or whatever you want to call it. The scandals of Herbert Hoover back in the Great Depression, committed by Republicans, right? He's doing that so people can fawn over him. He's a good Republican for once. Yeah, he wants to eat cake. He wants people to say good things about him. But the truth is, Democrats, as long as you're a Republican, you're not good. That's the logic. So we obviously know what Mr. McCabe is doing. He is, of course, eating cake with CNN, but it's not digesting that well with the liberals that are watching this.
Was the director operated at the direction of presidents to collect political intelligence and to utilize the legal authorities, the investigative authorities of the FBI to terrorize and intimidate Americans. So the question is that where we're going back to with this nomination?
Well, here's the deal. So again, going back to the deep state, we are under a deep state, as much as they want to deny it. They raided Mar-a-Lago with very little evidence. Okay? This guy has nothing to talk about when it comes to Guantanamo the Canal. What's it called? Guantanamo Bay. Excuse me, not canal. Guantanamo Bay. Established by his fellow Bush Republicans. There's some sort of conspiracy of terrorism without any proof and evidence to throw him to Guantanamo Canal, and he absolutely supports it because he's a Bush Republican. Or he will trash Bush as he did with Hoover, as he did with Nixon. Kind of a toss-up of what he would do, but we can't understand these people.
I would argue that Kash Patel would be the perfect person for Donald Trump to nominate if that's in fact his intent for the FBI.
Now he's fired Christopher Wray, the person he picked, and he's replacing him with a clown in Kash Patel. And he's replacing him with somebody that is not qualified for this job.
So is Kamala Harris for being president.
Gained the respect and trust of colleagues. It has not demonstrated that they can be in a leadership role managing other law enforcement officials. And he was a attorney for Devin Nunes on the Hill. He did do some counterterrorism operations for Trump in the first administration, so there is some experience there.
Yeah, because but the but doesn't matter because those are experiences, sure. And you could say, being an attorney isn't enough of being in the United States Senate because you're not climbing the ladder all the way up there. But he already worked with Trump. That's good enough. And I've made that cases with the United States Senators too. He worked with Trump. He had experience with Trump. Not to mention, let's see, Kash Patel, not Mr. McCabe, Rhino McCabe. Kash Patel. Let's see what he has. Okay. Yes, he is the director of federal. Yeah, he's the presumptive nominee. Yes, director of national intelligence and chief of course, and chief of staff to acting the United States Secretary of Defense. I don't see how you're the chief. I don't see how that's so unqualified. No, because Kash Patel is a threat to the deep state, and he's not the guy they want. Guess what? Your gal didn't get in. Though you guys can boo-hoo, whine, and cry about it, but don't expect us, grassroots Americans, to boo-hoo, whine, and cry with you. Just, better yet, expect us to stare you down. Because you guys are acting like childs. This guy right here, I don't know where he comes from. Obviously, a pawn for Kamala Harris.
Management experience, trust, independence. And this is a person that does podcast hits on Steve Bannon's podcast wearing a MAGA hat. He has
that's so bad.
K money sign H. This is a person that is not.
Kamala Harris went to call me daddy. How unqualifying is that? Well, honestly, it isn't because you're trying to touch base with the American people. This guy's acting like going on podcasts and wearing some paraphernalia is so unqualifying. I'm telling you, he's a Democrat supporter.
It's not qualified for this job in any way, shape, or form. Bill Barr said that Patel would be deputy FBI director over his dead body. Bill Barr says, furthermore, Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency.
And because one rhino has to say that, doesn't mean it makes it true. How many people left the Trump administration and endorsed Harris? How many Republicans endorsed Harris? Hundreds. How many votes did Trump get in this election? 77 million. So it doesn't matter what Republicans and used to be Trump allies say about Trump. It doesn't work. And this guy's using old school tactics that clearly didn't work according to what happened in November of 2024. So keep it up. Because you're wasting your words.
Moving Patel into a role like this showed a shocking detachment from reality. That's Bill Barr.
It's Bill Barr. Yeah, he's a centrist. He's a Democrat, though. But he's known for being centrist. But you think he's not going to eat cake with his own party? He's going to eat cake. Although he's good at criticizing his own side. That's good. But if he criticizes them too much, well, then you must be a Republican. So keep in mind.
I don't know what more needs to be said. Like what more I could say that is worse than that.
On the program, we have so much to get to today, but since you are such a key national security official, I do want to ask you about President-elect Trump's decision to nominate Kash Patel as FBI director. I mean, as you know, he's a fierce Trump loyalist. He has vowed to go after the deep state. You have worked closely with the current FBI director. What do you think it would mean to have Kash Patel in that role?
Well, look, I'm not going to speak to President-elect Trump's nominees. I'll let him speak for his own rationale. What I will say is how the Biden administration has approached the position of FBI director. We inherited Director Chris Wray, who has done a very good job in the role.
No, he wasn't.
From President-elect Trump, who appointed him to a 10-year term. And what makes the FBI director different from most other nominees is they're not just appointed for one term of a president. They're appointed for enough time to last past two terms of a president because they're supposed to be insulated from politics. President Biden scrupulously adhered to that longstanding bipartisan tradition. And
who is responsible for raiding Mar-a-Lago without very little evidence? Christopher Wray. I'm just saying, this guy is basically exposing a lot of bright spots to shoot at, to get him shot at.
For a good reason.
Not violently. I want to be, because this guy is of course, elected. I'm not elected, but he's a government official, and if I, of course, say that, I could give you a lot of trouble. So, clarify, like, metaphorically. And even that, I shouldn't have used the word shot. So that was that's my mistake.
Director should not be subject to the whims or the to's and fro's of politics. But as for the announcement yesterday or the decisions President-elect Trump has made, they'll have to speak to that themselves.
I've encouraged President Trump
back to
Kash Patel to
MS. Okay.
He's replacing him with somebody.
We don't need to hear from you again. But yeah, back to MSNBC, I believe, or if it's CNBC or NBC, it doesn't even matter. It's the same network. It's just a little beehive scrapped together in one. It's just, you get the same bias there anyway. But back to this here.
President Trump to bring Kash Patel to the table for precisely this reason.
This is Senator Bill Hagerty.
To talk about Kash, but I'm more than happy to talk about him. He represents the type of change that we need to see in the FBI. If you think about the failures of background checks that have taken place, how could we have somebody like Colin Kahl who tweeted out classified information? I went to the FBI myself. They ignored me. Basically, he was confirmed on a party line vote in the U.S. Senate with Kamala Harris, breaking the tie to put this person not even have security clearance in the third most powerful position at DOD.
We talked about him before. Yes, he is an ally. He's a supporter of Kash Patel. Obviously, this is the liberal media again, represented by Republican from Tennessee, U.S. Senator from Tennessee, still incumbent as we speak. But yeah, this is what this is our guy. Let's see what Republicans have to say about the actual conspiracy theorists, which are the Democrats, that think Kash Patel is going to ruin this, which he won't.
You've got Rob Malley. I don't know how he cleared an FBI check. He's now under investigation. His ties to the Iranian influence regime that worked with him and for him. Ariane Talatabi, who is still at the DOD, should never clear an FBI background check. This entire agency needs to be cleaned out. It's not doing its job. And if you look at what happened, the politicization that took place back in 2016, when senior leaders of the FBI collaborated and conspired to try to keep President Trump out of office. And then when he came into office, they put together this fake Russiagate.
Boom, boom, boom. Something the liberals, the MSNBC and all the lip CNN, they don't want to hear that. But here's the thing. Yeah. Boom. That's what you want to hear.
Investigation that hindered the Trump administration the first several years. Look at 2020. Look at what happened there with the fake Hunter Biden story. That the FBI leadership worked together with big tech to censor the Hunter Biden laptop that allowed President Biden to basically fool the American public and come into office. There are serious problems at the FBI. The American public knows it. They expect to see sweeping change, and Kash Patel is just the type of person to do it.
President Trump has nominated
back to NBC, back to MSC 2.0, CNN. But yes, you'll see this guy. He's a Republican. Representative Mike Lawler. Let's see if he's a rhino. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see what he has to say.
Someone who served as chief of staff at the Department of Defense. Someone who served
likely
as
a Trump
deputy,
Republican
director of the NSI. Someone who served as a senior staffer on the House Intelligence Committee. He was a federal prosecutor under the Obama administration, and so certainly has requisite experience for this role. I think there's no question President Trump made very clear that the Department of Justice and the FBI would be reformed if he was elected to a second term. And I think, obviously, with the selection of Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, that's exactly what he's going to do. Look, I don't think the American people are interested in a revenge tour. But obviously, if people did wrong in their...
And Trump said success is his revenge. This guy, after getting shot, he said, let's come together with peace and unity. He didn't go sticking up his finger towards Biden, and honestly, he did the second time, and that's because they totally dismantled his offering the first time. So why offer a peace offering after he was shot while you guys clearly smacked it out of his hands? What's the point? It's not going to work. It won't work the second time. You tried once. What's the point of trying it again? So yes, Donald Trump doesn't care about revenge. He says revenge is success.
Official capacities, then that's something they should be concerned about. But if they didn't do anything wrong, if they upheld the law, then there shouldn't be a problem. The objective here, obviously, is to reform the Department of Justice and the FBI and get it back to its mission of going after criminals. Now, growing up in New York, the FBI in the aftermath of 9/11 was focused on going after terrorism. And obviously, in recent years, we've seen the FBI and the Department of Justice weaponized in a way that it has become completely political. That's not good for the American people. It's not good for our system of justice.
And this is what they're fear-mongering about. Oh, it's going to become political. It's already political. What are you talking about? But they want the FBI to be political towards and beneficiary to Democrats, right? And Democrats' benefits, right? But if it doesn't benefit, it benefits Republicans, then, it's such a bad thing.
Lack of confidence that Americans have in the Department of Justice and the FBI is terrible. And so obviously we want a system that is reformed, that works for the American people, and that prosecutes criminals. And that should be the objective and the goal of every American. And obviously that's what my hope is as the Department of Justice moves forward under Pam Bondi and the FBI under Kash Patel.
Okay, that is it. 12 minutes. It's actually longer. See now how long this video was. But understandable, because we got to understand why is the big state crying? And we now know why. Because we got Pam Bondi, we got Tulsi Gabbard, we got RFK Jr., we got Vivek, and Elon Musk. We got all these anti-deep state people. And they're freaking out. The question and concern is, will they kick out? Will Republicans get on board with Kash Patel? You gotta look at the biggest swamp creature in the Senate, and that is Mitch McConnell. He's not the majority or minority leader anymore, but he still has the influence. This guy's had influence my whole entire life. Unless he leaves, and still then he'll have influence. They just call him up. Call him up. Yeah, this guy, Mitch McConnell, don't want him to die. But he will have influence until he dies. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. It doesn't matter if he's in the Senate or out of the Senate. So, really, This whole thing is not up to the Senate, it's up to Mitch McConnell, despite Mitch not actually being in GOP leadership in the Senate. He will have that big influential title, sort of what Nancy Pelosi has for the House Democrats title. Interesting stuff. So what do you guys think in regards to Trump's pick? It's obviously a based pick. I support it 100%, and I support every pick that Trump picks. And I necessarily don't like most of them, but you know what? If Donald Trump wants it, then Donald Trump should get it. Because the last time, the first administration, Donald Trump asked for stuff. He didn't get it. The deep state, the GOP establishment said, no, this wouldn't be good. Work with someone that you totally never met before, totally have no experience with, because that person gives beneficiaries to the establishment. But seeing how Donald Trump is working with people that, of course, forming different ideologies, he is dismantling, of course, the argument that Donald Trump is going to turn America far right. That is being dismantled by the minute. 60% of Americans approve of Donald Trump's transition. Despite all the boo-hoo whining and crying about Pete Hegseth and Matt Gaetz and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and now about Kash Patel. Nope, Americans still approve. They have totally been broken out of the shadows of woke media. Because Americans are now looking at podcasts and they're boo-hoo whining and crying because they won't listen. The American people don't want to listen to the boo-hoo whining and crying. What's the point of boo-hoo whining and crying when no one will watch you? The only people who will watch you is the people that will be mad because you tell them to, because they're NPCs, they're Democrats. The media has become a platform for Democrats. Like the liberals like to say, oh, X, far-right platform. Heck, there are more liberals on X still by 1 percentage point. That has declined significantly, though. But you can't say no liberals are in X, even though half of them are. Half of the users on X are used by, of course, liberals. But what are Democrat Party platforms like MSNBC, big tech, big media, CBS, CNN, all these left-wing networks, they are clearly in for the bag for Democrats. You can make the argument about X all you want. But when you see the numbers, that does not make up. Elon Musk is not far right. He's actually very moderate. He's still classically liberal. He's just not far left. He's just not big deep state far left. Like the media and what the Democratic Party, the current Democratic Party, wants. So, interesting stuff. So, what do you guys think in regards to our video? Let me know down below. As always, see you all in the next political episode.